Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Well, you missed out. Good afternoon.
Well, I was going to say it after you.
After you.
After you. Goodness.
Loch Ness.
You
Bada boom.
You have to say Loch Ness. Goodness. Loch Ness.
Loch Ness. Totness. Where's Totness? Totness. It's in Devon.
Tottenham.
No one can stop them. Hello, this is the Benji and Nick Show. I'm Nick. He's Benji.
I am.
This week we're looking at your emails. Not just looking at them, we're actually reading them out because on an audio podcast, if we just looked at them, they'd be long.
Well, that could be part of our charms. These guys, they do so much, but it's all in silence. But it's the thrill of thinking and wonder what they're up to.
This week, the Benji and Nick Show mimed. We're talking about this week on TV for us. And also, we may be talking to Jamie Anderson, but I've got a funny feeling he won't be available. So, in which case, I'll grab him at a later date and do some editing and edit him in.
Class, like it.
And at the end of this podcast, we'll be spontaneously deciding next week's program to watch. That's what we'll be doing. So, what have you been watching this week? I wrote down a number of things I've been watching, but they needn't coincide with what you. That's just a little reminder for me, Benji.
I'll just be there going, I didn't watch that. God no, blimey. No, I've watched a few different things actually. I watched another episode of Special Branch, the second one. Text you about that.
You did.
Brilliant stuff there. Great characters work.
A series for men.
A series for men, which nearly always features somebody shaving their face with an electric razor. I've watched a lot of Twilight Zone. I've been really into that. I
saw you tweeting about that. Yeah.
I always forget how brilliant it is, and then I see another one which totally shocks me, and I think, wow. But I like them because they're short. You can boil some pasta and do something. Make a spaghetti bolognese in about that time. Something boring like that. I suppose the highlight for me.
How long are they?
They're about like 20 minutes or something, so you can.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're not very long.
Can I say that even higher?
So I watched that. And I suppose that the highlight for me was watching this week was I sat down and decided to watch John Hurt in 1984.
Oh.
Because
that's a bit heavy, isn't it?
Oh, it really.
That's such an ignorant thing to say. It's the bit when he gets his tooth pulled out that really upsets me.
Yeah, that's horrible. That is. What are you doing to me? Something like that. But because I saw one of the quotes from 1984 on Twitter, somebody just quoted it. Hardly surprising in the age that we live in now. And I just thought to myself, I've not watched 1984 in years. And so just decided to go for it. It was a toss-up between watching that or watching the Peter Cushing version. But I didn't have the Cushing version, and I've got the Hurt version, so I watched it.
Which was made in 1984.
It was indeed, absolutely. But what a wonderful production. It was so depressing and thought-provoking and beautifully made, that film, actually, I think. It's all the music is really wonderful. But no, I loved that. I mean, I felt
Richard Burton's last performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because he gets a credit either at the beginning. I think it's at the end. He certainly gets It was at the beginning. I think it like introduces the cast, and then it says in memory of Richard Burton.
Oh right, yeah. Well, in that case,
class work. But afterwards, I tell you what, it was because I watched it quite late into the night. It was either that or I had an offer from some friends to watch Attack of the Cybermen with them and over Skype, which I said, I'm right in the middle of something very heavy.
That would have been Joe and Tom, wouldn't it?
That was Joe and Tom, yeah. living their best. It's quite funny though. They were like, they sent me a video and they said, Benji will know, what car is this? And immediately I looked at it and just went, Ford Granada, mate, Ford Granada. Dream.
Why did they send? There was no Ford. Was there a Ford Granada in the Attack of the Cybermen?
Litton drives a Ford Granada, yeah.
Yeah.
Big old cars they are, glorious things. But Mark II. Yeah. But yeah, so it was a toss up between that, but I was too in deep with 1984, so
he was in deep.
Did I watch anything? No, not really. I've just been watching a lot of a lot of Old Grey Whistle test really in the evenings. That's what I've been doing.
Hi, welcome to the Old Grey Whistle test, where, as usual, I'll be speaking like this.
It's that, isn't it? It is always
whispering Bob Harris.
And now we've got the fantastic musical talents there of Nicholas Briggs and the Gravediggers. But I've been having this great because I just bought a new guitar. It's a glorious red Fender Stratocaster, and I've just had this.
I love it when you say that.
Sounds so nice to say. But I had this weird thing that I just started watching these Old Grey Whistle tests to get back into the mindset of guitar music. And I realised that suddenly everybody's got the exact same one in the same colours. I'm just like, yes, it's like become a bit of a game now. It's like, he's got his nice little red Fender there going on there. There's some great performances in Old Grey Whistle tests. Absolute crackers on there.
Oh yeah, all sorts of unexpected things, including Gary Newman.
Gary Newman. I mean, what's not
Tube
to love?
Army, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh god. Well, the thing, obviously you got your David Bowies and your Bob Marleys, your Sweet, your Dr. Feelgoods and all that. Been listening to a lot of Suzi Quatro this week for some ghastly reason. No idea why.
She was the go-to gorgeous pop girl for lads back in the 70s.
She was just
with
wearing loads of
leather
jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Going on about canning the can or something.
She's Canadian, wasn't she?
I think so. I don't know. I've never heard her speak. I've only heard her sing.
Oh really? Oh, she used to be. She used to be on telly quite a lot. Talking. I'm sure she had a pop program that she presented.
Wouldn't surprise me. Let's have a look.
And I saw her interviewed on something not that long ago, actually, Suzi Quatro. Yeah, and that was the big thing. I remember there was a girl at drama school who she was sick and tired of everyone calling her Suzi Quatro. Back then, I don't know whether people do it now. Maybe you just do it when you're young. And I, of course, am old, as Tom Baker says.
Old.
Not about me, about himself, but it's true about me as well. When I was young, you're young, you tell me if this is true. You identify people by who they look like. So, like, when I was at drama school, everyone thought I looked like John Cleese because I had a moustache. And it was around about the time Fawlty Towers had just finished. And he was very much in everyone's mind. And there I was, quite tall and skinny and sort of with a, big chin. And I had a moustache. And people would come up to me and say, "You look just like him," without even saying who they meant.
And you go, yeah.
Because they know. I mean, I look back at photos of me, I didn't look anything like him. And there was a girl on our course who, we thought was gorgeous because we all thought she looked like Suzi Quatro. And to say that someone looked like Suzi Quatro meant they were dead sexy.
They were the top. I mean? Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that I identify people by who they look like, but I would say that it definitely factors into if somebody does look like somebody. I mean, it has its benefits. For example, people always say, until I grew a beard, people would always say I look like John Belushi, and so I used to get people buying me pints because of that reason. And I'll sing a bit of Blues Brothers, and then they'll say, "Oh yeah, get him a pint." So. But yeah, I mean, if somebody looked like Suzi Quatro, then yeah, obviously they're the business, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Sort of, this is the 70s. The Suzi Quatro. I mean, she's a business, isn't she?
She's a business.
She's the business.
Another part of Double Diamond, please.
Oh, do you know what? This is
pack of Rothmans.
This is a boring. I've got all these. Seen this old pack of Sobranis here from the 70s party.
Oh my goodness.
I went to Goodwood Revival a few years ago, which is a big car/vintage festival. It's amazing. Because they've even got the old Tesco. They built an old Tesco there, as it was in the 70s, with all people in the brown coats and all that business. It's incredible. With like a Bobby's.
It's a supermarket for anyone listening who doesn't know what a Tesco is.
It's very true.
From the US, yes.
But everybody there dresses up. So it's not compulsory, but it's kind of expected. And so it's like going back.
Physical harm is administered if you're not dressed up.
You're strapped to the front of a car and driven through 5 brick walls. But the best thing is that they do limited runs of old products, and so there's lots of rebranding. So they were selling, like, for example, marathon bars were there.
Oh, instead of Snickers.
Snickers.
Because Snickers is a rebrand of Marathon. I'm just explaining for people who don't know.
Yes, but Double Diamond was an old lager.
Works wonders.
Double Diamond works wonders.
I thought it was a beer. I didn't think it was a lager.
It's pretty much a lager.
I thought it was an ale. Double Diamond works wonders, works wonders, works wonders. Double Diamond works wonders, so drink some today. That was the advert.
Yeah, that was you spot on there. Well done. But they brought it back for this event.
Wow.
You could buy it like crates of Double Diamond because they
What about Tankard?
Tankard.
Yeah, that was pint of.
I don't remember.
How do you do it, Stanley? It's Tankard that helps me excel. After one, I do anything well. Was there
I love it. Why don't we have more adverts like that? Like Watney's Party 7. But Watney's breweries are still going. But the interesting thing about Double Diamond, I'm glad you brought it up because this is an interesting fact, is they still make it, but they don't sell it in shops, and it's made purely because Prince Philip always likes to have a Double Diamond before he goes to bed. That's his evening thing, that he likes a Double Diamond, and so I think Carlsberg make it. They still make Double Diamond pretty much exclusively for him.
Do you think it's just Carlsberg and they just put Double Diamond on the tip?
Oh, I'm sure of it, but maybe they tweaked it slightly. But I remember thinking this tastes like everything else I've ever tasted before. So, but you pay for the logo, don't you?
Talking about Prince Philip's drinking habits, given his recent
driving
although
habits.
he was breathalyzed and clearly the result was negative. So I just don't want to cast any aspersions there and endanger my chances of getting a knighthood.
Can you imagine that?
Sorry, the very thought.
We're revoking we thought of you, Nick, and
then just crossing him off the list now.
He called. He said I was drinking or I was driving. Then when a night
pass me the Double Diamond.
Where's Rowan Atkinson?
What's Rowan Atkinson got to do with it?
I know. I was just thinking the other day that he should be knighted. I think if anybody's going to be knighted, it will be him.
Well, maybe he's. I mean, people are given an indication that an honour is being considered for them before it's made public, and they have a chance to say that whether they want it or not.
Like Sir Michael Palin, isn't it?
Is he a sir?
I think I'm 90% sure he's now become a sir, unless I've dreamt it.
But there are some people out there, and I won't divulge anything.
Yes, he's a sir.
I don't know for certain. There are some people out there who I'm certain have been asked and have turned it down for.
I think people do
reasons of conscience and points of view. There are some people who would have been offered honours and who won't accept them.
I think
because
John
Cleese
was offered and refused it. Said it was silly, but Palin took it on. I'm sure it happens. Well,
it seems ungrateful not to take it. I think both Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat have taken OBEs, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got OBEs, I'm sure. Yeah, my old headmaster had an OBE.
Yeah.
Was it CBE? I think, no, it was an OBE. But
because I bought. Do you remember Jason Hay Gellery's 50th birthday party? For those of you listening who don't know about Big Finish, Jason Hay Gellery is the chairman of Big Finish, and it was his 50th birthday. And what do you buy a man with everything? So I went to an old sort of memorabilia shop out of desperation, and then I saw that you could buy OBEs, and this is an old one from about 1908 or something. So I bought him an OBE. He was so pleased.
He was wearing it all night, wasn't he? And people kept going up to him and saying, "Oh, congratulations!"
But I believe either Stephen Moffat or the other person at his party who did have a real OBE, one of the two of them said, "You can't wear that. You haven't been awarded it." And I believe in America, it is a criminal offence to wear an award or medal that you haven't earned or been presented with. It's called false valour, and I think it's you might have to be put in prison because of it. There's no such rule in the UK, so you can go around wearing an OBE even if you haven't been given one. We don't have rules like that in this country.
Well, it's like the person
we just don't have people running around with guns all the time. Anyway.
Well, there was somebody who I was reading about yesterday who calls himself Lord. and it was just given. The title was just given to him by somebody died and said, "Oh, you can be a lord." He's got no legal standing, but subsequently, because he just calls himself that, like he's invited, he's like an honorary member of all these things. He's like, goes to all these top conservative events, and he's like, he's got pictures with all these prime minister, with the prime minister and all the. You think, blimey, all because he essentially isn't a lord, but calls himself a lord.
Well, I suppose you could change your name by deed poll to lord, couldn't you?
You can buy the title of lord. You can become a Scottish laird.
How much?
It's not a lot. That's what's funny. My friend Will's lord. He's even got it on his credit card. It's I know. He's like, he goes around saying, "It's lord, actually."
That's just madness. Go on. How much is it?
Okay, so say you want to become an English lord.
Yes.
The lordship title pack is £24.95, and you can become. So say you and Steph wanted to become lord and lady, you could do it for £36. You
can't go and vote in the House of Lords, can you? Though in Parliament.
I mean, what does it say? What? It says you will receive a title pack, title certificates, legal deed, 5 square feet of dedicated land, a title crest.
5 square feet.
Well, that's how they do it, isn't it? You can refer to yourself as title pack is issued. You can refer to yourself as lord or lady. Yes, you can change the title for things like credit cards, membership cards, social media, employers. You can visit the estates whenever you like, and you can use the crest as well, and as they're not a heraldic coat of arms.
But to do that would be the act of a monumental insert expletive.
Well, I think people do it for gifts, don't they? They give it a gift. You say, "I've bought you the title of lord."
How funny. I mean, of course, when you could really scam it out, couldn't you, by, announcing it, and when people say, "Oh, I didn't know," wouldn't you? And you say, "I'm afraid I don't like to discuss it."
Well,
so you just get away with them thinking you're like a bona fide proper lord, as opposed to a £24.45 or whatever it was.
Well, it's
Listen, I better talk about what I've been watching this week.
Yes, Lord Melbury. Get on with it, Lord Melbury.
Star Trek Discovery has come back.
Yeah, that's got a big old rap, hasn't it, on the all the advertising everywhere, isn't it?
Does that mean a good thing? You mean a rap?
Yeah, it's in a good thing, like, as in like it's got a good report, good presence.
Oh, right,
I suppose,
that's what a rap
response.
is it? Okay. Yeah. I have no idea. These young people. My Star Trek Discovery is that when, because Netflix being a helpful thing, when you press the button to play the next episode, it plays the next episode that you haven't seen. And what I discovered is that I hadn't seen the final episode of the first season.
Oh my gosh.
Because I thought, when people were saying, "Oh, it's finished now" and everything, I said, "Yeah, it's a really weird ending, isn't it?" And everyone looked at me askance slightly. And it's because I hadn't seen the ending. It's just crazy. It just ended up with the old captain coming back. And I thought, the one from the alternative universe. Yeah. The lady from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Wait, isn't it?
What's her name?
Yeah, isn't it Wei Lin from Tomorrow Never Dies?
Yeah. What's the actress's name?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person here. Let me have a look.
Well, her anyway. But of course, there's a whole final episode of the first season where she helps them defeat the Klingon Empire and everything. So I watched that thinking, this is a really weird way to start a series, because this feels like the end of something. Which of course it was. Yes. Anyway, so I watched that and I thought, there are 2 episodes. And then I realised the second episode I was watching was in fact the first episode. I would say, have you seen it yet?
I've seen some of Star Trek. I think I got halfway through and then didn't go back to it. But not because I didn't
carry
want
on,
to,
because it does get better. Yeah.
I think I just didn't think about it. I just was watching other things.
Okay, well, episode 1 of the new series, it feels to me, I don't know whether this is right, but it feels to me like they've got, because I'm not an expert, like they've got new writers. It just feels different and, dare I say it, better.
which is not a bad thing.
So it's good. So thumbs up to Star Trek Discovery. Someone tweeted us the Solar Nauts. Did you watch any of that?
I've seen it before. I've double checked that it is
by Roberta Lee, who was one of the sort of competitors to Jerry Anderson. But this is a sci-fi pilot episode of something that, funnily enough, never ended up as a series. Done in 1967, I believe, and with the most bizarre cast.
Yes, I have seen this. Yeah,
Derek Folds. And who's that guy's name? Is it someone Ring who plays the sort of grumpy? But anyway, it's two blokes in a spaceship going on a space mission with a grumpy guy back on the base, and they're trying to defeat a really weird bald alien. And the science fiction is a total that it's science fiction is a total misnomer, because the use of the word science is a bit like using the word cookery for me opening a packet of crisps.
Well, that is cooking.
Well, exactly. That is as much like cooking as the science in this travesty of nonsense. Anyway, it makes great watching. The music is the most professional bit of it. It's by the way, the control panel in the main spaceship was reused. I would stake my reputation in Frontier in Space, a 1973 Doctor Who story. It obviously went, they made it for this, and it just got put in a warehouse somewhere. And Doctor Who was famous for buying up old bits of sci-fi props, hence bits of set from UFO arriving in Doctor Who and what have you.
Well, it's like the guns from Death to the Daleks were Star Wars, weren't they? For the Sand People.
Really?
Yeah, if you look at the Sand People, and they've got all their weird gun things, they're exactly the same guns as the Daleks.
No, that can't be so, because Death to the Daleks came before Star Wars.
Then it would have been used later on in Star Wars. Then
no,
honestly,
wow.
have a look.
Okay.
Let me see if I get a picture.
I know the hairbrush radio from Live and Let Die is in Revenge of the Cybermen.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, that is exact. I think it's the.
Anyway, Johnny Hawksworth, who does the music, I looked him up. He also did Rhubarb, Man About the House, George and Mildred, right? And Salute to Thames,
Well, he is an absolutely huge one of the main people that worked at KPM Music. He was responsible for a lot of library music that you can hear. I would go so far as to say that when you're watching things and you hear a really iconic tune, it's most likely to be from Johnny Hawksworth or Keith Mansfield, the two big ones in my eyes anyway.
I love we've strolled into an area of your passion, which is why I made all those notes. Also, I've been watching The Orville in preparation for the new season starting, which it has. It's 2 episodes in as I speak to you now, because my wife had never seen it, and she strangely showed an interest in watching it because it was sort of a comedy and not straight science fiction. The Orville, if you didn't know, is basically a total rip-off of Star Trek, and the fact that it says created by Seth MacFarlane at the beginning is utterly laughable. I don't know how he gets away with not being sued by Paramount or Gene Roddenberry's estate or whatever. Anyway, it's fantastic fun. It's more like Star Trek The Next Generation than anything else, but made in a modern way, but still very, very reminiscent, naturally, because they've got lots of directors from Star Trek working on it. And I think even one of the executive producers has worked on Star Trek as well. Jonathan Frakes directed an episode, for example. And it's great fun. So far, the first 2 episodes... One is about Bortus, the strange alien Klingon ripoff, having his annual wee.
Oh my god!
Right in the first episode, when he meets the captain, he says, "I urinate once a year."
But it's a damn good one.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
so it
enjoyable.
comes around that he's got. But the thing is, with when I can't remember the name of the race they come from. I can't remember what kind of species he is. But anyway, when they have a wee every year, they have to go back to their home planet and do it in front of all their friends and family.
Oh, no.
And they stand on the edge of a cliff. One of the characters wonders about what if the wind's blowing in the wrong direction. Anyway, it's a lovely episode. And then the next one is about porn addiction. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, it sounds like you had an enjoyable evening.
Yeah, well, his single sex, because it's a single sex species, his single sex marriage to his partner, Clyden, is being spoilt by the fact that he keeps going on to their version of the holodeck, which is, creates a holographic environment. And he's basically spending it having sort of dungeon fantasies.
Oh, God.
All these, naked aliens rubbing themselves. So, great fun, the Orville. It's funny watching it with my wife, who isn't a Star Trek fan and does not quite understand the joke. And I keep saying, no, this is funny, because she's watching it
In a almost like
completely
a
cold.
open way, yeah.
Yeah, and she does. Obviously, some of the jokes are really obvious, and she gets those, but she doesn't get the sly references, and she keeps sort of pointing out plot holes and things. I don't think they're worrying about that stuff.
Yeah,
I
it
think
doesn't
doing a
matter. It's
pastiche.
comedy.
Yeah. But anyway, she says, "Why didn't he?" Anyway, I'm just being shown a gun from at the end there.
See, that's just the Dalek gun, isn't it? From Death to the Daleks.
They took the end of the Dalek gun,
and then they shoved it on there.
Wow.
There you go. You see,
Death to the Daleks is in Star Wars. How crazy is that? Man Up. Have you ever seen Man Up?
No, but I think I've heard of it. Or
It's
either
a
that or
movie
people
with
say it to me a
Simon
lot.
Pegg and Lake Bell. I bet they do. They certainly say it to me. I've used it about myself a lot. This is a film that I watched in desperation one night when I don't know, I was just searching for anything. I was a bit depressed. And I would never normally have watched it past 10 minutes, because this is a bit like Chalet Girl, in that it's just a stupid rom-com about a first date where the wrong woman goes and decides not to own up, and the ensuing chaos. I like it. Simon Pegg is very good in it. I mean, Simon is a fantastic actor, but he's always oddly uncharismatic. But the sheer power and intensity of his talent sort of bursts through that, and it always makes his characters amazingly interesting to watch. And so he's a 40-year-old man having a date with what he thinks is a 22-year-old triathlete, and it turns out she's actually 34, but he can't tell. The remarkable thing about this film is that Lake Bell, who I'm watching in it thinking, who is this actress? She's playing a South London middle-class girl. And I thought it was an amazing performance, and it's really rich in comedy, and it's this beautiful, sensitive performance, complex. And then I looked her up afterwards, because I thought I might like to employ her for Big Finish. She's really good. I've never heard of her before, so she clearly can't be famous. She's an American actress. She's got no English blood in her at all. Her English accent is superb. It's a very precise South London middle-class accent, and it is absolutely spot on.
How strange.
She doesn't even have an agent in this country, so I couldn't employ her. She's a massive star. She's been in loads of American stuff. I'd never heard of her. But it was a great film, and I think it did probably quite badly at the box office. I think it vanished without a trace, and it's lovely. I recommend it.
So Man Up. And where can you watch that?
Well, it was on the BBC iPlayer, but you probably have to get it on a DVD. Yeah. Or some other streaming service. Modesty Blaze, the film I watched the first 25 minutes of it.
One of those films, is it?
Modesty Blaze is an old, I think it was a comic strip, sort of like a female James Bond kind of character from the 60s, I think. I'm probably getting this all wrong. Possibly based on books before that. Anyway, I think it's an Anglo-Italian, Anglo-French production. Lots of dubbed people. Really just became unwatchable. Maybe I'll go back. I've recorded it. The Sandbaggers. Got to the last episode. Have you watched any of it yet?
I've watched half of the first one.
All right. Persist with it. I can tell you're having a hard time with it there if you only watched half of the first episode. You get to know the characters and then you love it.
I think I watched it at the wrong time, and so I was just like, it wasn't so much giving up, but I was just like, I'll finish it another time. But I'm determined to, because I love the idea behind it. I think it seems really
fun.
Spy
series from the late 80s, early
love 90s. All the London stuff.
Late 70s, early 90s. Sorry, yeah, it's incredible, and a tour de force performance.
Early 90s.
No, I got that wrong. Sorry, I
was going to say it's
late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. Roy Marsden, incredible performance. Famously, it doesn't have an ending because the writer died in mysterious circumstances. And you can see why at the end that people suspected that maybe he got bumped off, because the stuff he's saying towards the end is very, for the time, contemporary and very political.
Really?
Yes.
I think this guy knows stuff, yeah.
And it literally, I won't spoil anything, but it literally ends up in the air. I gasped. I'd forgotten how it ended. I just went, knowing that I'll never know. No one will ever know what happens in the end. And that's just how it ended. It's perfunctory. It's unforgiving. It's great. Now, to make up for it, on the network DVD release, they've put an episode of Crown Court that Roy Marsden was in. But when you watch it, Crown Court was a thing done in the 70s, daytime television on ITV, where famously the jury were made up of members of the public and they decided who was guilty. It was just a court case in a court. They decided, so the actors had to rehearse two endings where they were happy at being released or sad at being sent down. And Roy Marsden was indeed in this three-part Crown Court story, but the last episode which they showed just features him occasionally, shots of him just looking. I think 2 or 3 shots of him just looking at the proceedings. He doesn't say a word in it, and yet they've put this. Presumably it's the only surviving episode, but
how weird is that? How pointless.
Very weird, but also interesting to watch because it brought back my memories of Crown Court.
I've got the soundtrack to I've got the theme to Crown Court on vinyl.
Yes, that's what the theme is. It's a bit of stock music, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's sort of by D Wolf, I think, another big library music company.
And then finally, randomly, I haven't seen it, but I got a notification from Netflix about a thing called Night Flyers.
Night Flyers.
And it says, from the imagination of George R.R. Martin, I want to say. I can't remember. And I thought, well, who's he? And he's a big American sci-fi novelist. And so I was looking up Night Flyers to see if there are any more clips and things of it. It looks like a load of old rubbish, by the way. And they've done this new reinvention of it for a series. But there was a movie made of it in 1987, which is all available on YouTube. Clearly, it's just someone's put their VHS copy on YouTube. and it is, you must dip into it because it is utterly terrible. It stars Michael Praed. That's the only name. Oh, and John Standing, bizarrely. 2 people I've worked with, both in this movie. Absolute drivel. It's so 1980s. It's like Orange Squash with far too much orange squash in it. In this analogy, the 1980s is Orange Squash, or cordial, as you might say.
Live home video.
It's really terrible. It's so full of 80s music. You must watch some of it because it's terrible. Anyway, listen, we must do the emails.
Yes, we must.
Which is sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. All right, I'll do the first one.
Go.
Original message, a note from Tom Hodden on your Facebook page, the Benji and Nick Show Cult TV Podcast. So, Thomas, what do you say? Chaps, great work as always on the podcast. I just thought you might be interested in the buzz of excitement surrounding your recent bounce of the goodness game. That's the goodness. To be frank, nobody has played them quite like you two in some time. The most exciting match remains, of course, the 84 title bout in which Sir Mornington Crescent defended his title 3-2 against the young pretender Welsh Little Chef, starting with traditional good morning but diverting through good grief, good fellow, goody yum yum and gobbledygooked, a controversial play, before entering the goodness phase. Many still have nightmares of that 6-hour volley, almost slipping around sheerness, an audience member fainting at godliness, gritted teeth at Inverness, and what a mess, before an exhausting stumble to Loch Ness. There are rumours that Mornington Crescent was in fact a spy broadcasting messages to the Soviet Union.
I heard that,
became so determined not to lose his final offensive, caused a Russian tank to spend 16 weeks driving from Afghanistan to Moscow in reverse gear. I'm not sure I read that out very well. Such conspiracy theories are, of course, silly nonsense. On a completely unrelated note, we do need to calibrate our decoder rings again. Or is it Benji ordering me to start the revolution? Yours, T.E. Houghton, sent from the kitchen.
He always delivers the goods, doesn't he?
He does.
Without fail.
He just asked to interview me for something. I'm doing it, of course.
Of course, definitely. What a champion, though. I love it. I had all these wonderful visions of... for some reason, all that came into my head was... Was it a James Bond film where it had those two people playing chess? With the Soviet guy playing chess at the beginning.
Yeah. Can't remember which one. Onwards. I've suddenly realised I've got to pick my boy up soon. So
okay, so we've got another message here. It's from Adam Graham. It's Graham here. It says, The Devil and Daniel Webster, which is the film I watched the other day. Dear Nick and Benji, I've not seen the movie, The Devil and Daniel Webster, but I did read the short as part of my high school American literature course. It was written by Stephen Vincent Benet, I think that's how you say it, and inspired by a short story by Washington Irving called The Devil and Tom Walker.
Oh.
Without giving too much away, Benji is right. The devil doesn't win thanks to the amazing oratorial skills of a 19th century US sentry and two-time US Secretary of State named Daniel Webster, who makes the devil give, Javers Stone a jury trial. There we go. The devil. You can't let the devil win in a 40s film.
No,
which you can get on a t-shirt now. I will say that the boring stuff Benji referenced wasn't in the short story. Then again, as the movie was based on a short story, you would have to pad it out. The story is actually quite influential, at least in the States. I saw many a sitcom that ripped off the basic plot idea, as well as probably the worst episode of the Father Dowling Mysteries. Essentially, anytime you see a program where someone sells their soul to the devil and they get a child to try and save it, Mr. Benet's story is at least an indirect inspiration. Best regards, Adam Graham, sent from inside an American literature textbook. Well, cheers for that one, Adam. That's a good look at that. See, this is why audience participation is so awesome. What a great email that is. Yes. Might even read the short now.
Yeah. Original message, Sandbaggers and Others, from Michael House. Dear Nick and Benji, I agree with everything Nick said about the Sandbaggers on the 2019 0120 podcast. I've even idly wondered what Big Finish might be able to do with what I understand to be the proposed format for the 4th season that never was. Ooh, I would love to do it. To wit, a wheelchair-bound Willie Kane, that gives away the ending, as the new D-Ops, Neil Burnside the new C, and Marianne Straker the new Minder One. But I long since stopped indulging in such wishful thinking and content myself with what we've got. On an unrelated note, you've talked about World War II movies and TV shows previously on the podcast, including Colditz. In this vein, I recommend Tenko. I bought the DVD set when I learned that Louise Jameson appeared in it, and while her performance is as great as one would expect, it's also just one among many good things about this series. It may not be strictly cult TV, well, I think it is, but I think it stands the test of time. As powerful as it is even today, I can't imagine what impact it had in its original 1980s broadcast. If you're so inclined, I'd like to hear what you gentlemen think of it. Keep up the good work. In any event, be seeing you, Michael House, Tokyo, Japan. There you go.
Great. Tenko's brilliant. I've got a lot of time for Tenko. It's been a while since I last sat down and watched it, but it's one of those bucket list series you kind of do have to watch, really, isn't it?
Should we watch it for next time?
What? Yes. Why not? Why not? Let's watch Tenko.
Let's watch Tenko.
Let's watch Tenko. Tenko.
Yeah. We're going to do episode 1 of Tenko. There we go. Tenko. By the way, here is the result of the competition. If you...
Sorry.
That's all right, mate. So what I have to do is just make some funny noises. I'm just calling up the selection that was made randomly earlier. The question was, who plays number 6 in the Big Finish version of The Prisoner? And the prize was 50 years of The Prisoner celebration DVD from Coit Media and the Unmutuals, a video record made of an event at Elstree Studios, at which I was present. Apparently I feature on this. Anyway, the randomly selected winner is Michael Gibbons, who wrote in and said, "Hi, Mark Elstob plays number 6 in the Big Finish version of The Prisoner, and he does it superbly. Regards, Michael Gibbons, sent via coaxial cable." So there you are. And you'll be sent that. And everyone else who entered will be contacted and given a 50% discount if they wish to buy that video from, or the DVD, I should say, from, I'm living in the past, from Coit Media. So there you have it.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on that one. Absolute great work, and hopefully we'll have more competitions in the future.
Well, looking forward to watching Tenko. In the meantime, it's goodbye from me.
And it's certainly goodbye from me. Goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.
Hello? Hello, the Benji and Nick show. It's Jamie Anderson calling. You haven't called for a while, and I was just checking you're okay, really. I sort of slightly miss being interrupted at inopportune moments. Yeah. Anyway, hope everything's okay, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.